Hey everyone! Tonight we are going to slip into the long robes and ink-stained fingers of someone whose job is both majestic and deeply annoying. You are the royal mythologist, and your entire career revolves around cataloging fallen stars. Sounds romantic, right? Yeah, until you realize they don't fall politely on schedule. They crash whenever they like, wherever they like, usually in places designed to ruin your boots. Honestly, you probably won't survive this gig. Not because it's dangerous, though sometimes it is, but because the paperwork alone could kill a lesser soul. The observatory at dawn is colder than it has any right to be. Your breath leaks out in little gray puffs, curling in the thin air as you trudge across the circular stone floor. The dome above is still open from last night's vigil, a yawning black mouth through which the last stars of night wink at you. The horizon is bleeding pale orange, and already you can tell this morning will not let you rest. Your cot in the corner still holds the shape of your body from where you tried, unsuccessfully, to sleep. Every hour you'd snapped awake, afraid you'd missed a falling streak. That's the rule here. If a star tumbles through the sky and you don't write it down, it's as if it never existed, which is a lot of pressure if you think about it too long. Best not to. You shuffle toward the brass spyglass, taller than you and polished by countless generations of mythologists before. Its surface is smudged from your own forehead prints. You adjust the lever, and the scope groans like an old man stretching his back. The lens aims low across the horizon, where the faintest smear of silver trails downward. You blink, rub your eyes, squint again. Yes, there it is, another one, and you didn't even have your ink ready. You fumble at the writing desk, knocking over an inkwell that splatters like a miniature night sky across your notes. Perfect, just perfect. One sleeve drags through the mess as you scrawl the date, the quadrant of the sky, the particular tremble in the light's fade. Each detail matters. The court demands exactness. If you're even a little sloppy, the astrologers will pounce on your mistakes like cats on spilled cream. The observatory itself doesn't help. The stones are cold, the wind sneaks through cracks, and pigeons insist on nesting in the rafters no matter how many times you shout at them. You'd think a place built for sacred star-keeping might be less drafty. But no, here you are, pulling your robe tighter, muttering curses into your quill. The falling streak is nearly gone now, swallowed into the haze of dawn. You commit its final shimmer to memory. A faint green glint that flared into white, then guttered out with a stutter like a cough. Green is rare. That means you'll have to head out later and find where it landed. Lucky you. Field work before breakfast. As the first sunlight slips across the floor, the observatory smells faintly of oil and old parchment. You feel the ache of your neck from craning all night. One hand scratches idly at your beard, or if you're not the beard type, then at that persistent spot on your jaw where ink stains settle like tattoos. Either way, you look like someone who hasn't seen a proper bath in days, which, to be fair, you haven't. You step to the wide balcony that circles the dome. From here, the palace unfurls below in a sprawl of red roofs, chimneys puffing, gardens still silvered with dew. Beyond the walls lie hills and farmland, the veins of rivers glinting under sunrise. Somewhere out there, buried in mud or lodged in a tree, is your new assignment. You sigh. But before you can climb down, you have to finish logging the night's smaller events. You flip through the star ledger, neat columns, cramped handwriting, margins filled with your muttered notes to self. Last night you cataloged 5 ordinary falls, all faint, all scattered east. The green one makes 6. The ink still shines wet under your candlelight as you dot the final mark. A pigeon coos at you from above, dislodging a feather that drifts into your hair. You resist the urge to throw the ledger at it. No, focus. You press wax to seal the page, whispering the traditional line, "As above, so below, and into ink forever." It sounds impressive, but really it's a glorified way of saying, "Done, next page." You linger at the scope a little longer, scanning in case another light decides to fall. The sky is pale now, most stars hidden. For a moment you let yourself relax, leaning on the cold brass, eyes heavy. The hum of the palace waking below drifts up, clatter of buckets, distant shouts of servants, the faint bark of a dog. Then, out of nowhere, a sharper streak slices across the sky, blazing brighter than the sun for just a heartbeat. You jerk upright, nearly smashing your face against the scope. It's gone almost instantly, leaving you with nothing but a dark spot dancing in your vision. But you saw it. You know you did. Your hand trembles as you scribble the details: time, direction, intensity. Strongest fall you've ever witnessed. The green one was impressive, but this was like a piece of the heavens punching through. Which means, of course, that your day just became twice as complicated. You slam the ledger shut with a resigned thud. Somewhere out there, 2 fresh stars are waiting for you. 2 muddy hunts, 2 official records, 2 piles of work before the court even eats lunch. You mutter, "Fantastic, just what I needed." But duty is duty, and so, as the sun clears the horizon, painting the observatory in golden light, you begin the slow trudge down the spiral stairs. Each step creaks underfoot, echoing like reluctant drums. You tighten your belt, adjust your robe, and try to convince yourself that maybe, just maybe, the stars will behave today. They won't, but at least you can hope.
The stairwell spits you out into the observatory's antechamber, where the walls are cluttered with half-finished charts, broken quills, and mugs of tea that long ago evolved into new forms of life. You swat at a gnat hovering above one such mug, grimacing as you realize you can't even remember when you last boiled water. Maybe yesterday? Maybe last week? Doesn't matter. Your morning is already spoken for. You sling the leather strap of the Royal Sky Chart case over your shoulder. The case is heavier than it looks, mostly because every map inside has been glued, patched, and layered so many times it's like hauling around a rolled-up cathedral. Still, this is your lifeline. Without it, you're just some half-mad scribbler yelling at the sky. With it, you're the official mythologist of the crown. Very dignified. Out on the balcony again, you squint toward the south. The memory of that green streak lingers in your eyes, a faint echo like a phantom bruise. But your mind keeps drifting back to the second one, the violent flash, so bright you nearly saw your ancestors. That one worries you. Green is unusual, but catalogable. The second? That was a whole different beast. You unroll a fresh parchment on a portable desk, smoothing it with ink-smudged palms. The quill scratches across the page as you draw a compass rose, then the arching dome of the sky above the kingdom. Your fingers move almost by instinct, east to west arcs, latitude lines, the tilt of the heavens at this hour. Soon the page blooms with slender streaks, each one marking the falls you witnessed. The green star is traced with careful precision, a fine line tapering off toward the southern fields. The brighter fall you mark with a heavier stroke, angled westward, further than you'd like. You tap the quill against your teeth, frowning. That one's going to drag you halfway across the kingdom if you're unlucky, and you are always unlucky. A servant girl trudges into the balcony carrying a tray of bread and cheese. She doesn't meet your eye, just sets it down on the stone railing and mutters, "For you, master." The honorific always sounds sarcastic when they say it. Maybe that's just you projecting. "Bless you," you mutter, already tearing at the bread with ink-stained fingers. It's stale, but it fills the gnawing pit in your stomach. Between bites, you keep sketching the descent paths, your teeth grinding whenever the quill snags on rough parchment. The trick is in the angles. Stars don't fall in straight lines, not really. They spiral, wobble, sometimes even veer at the last moment as if trying to dodge you. You measure with a brass divider, jotting down calculations, double-checking against last night's constellation charts. The sun climbs higher, washing the ink in pale light. Soon the parchment is crowded with lines and notes. You step back, chewing the last of the bread thoughtfully. The green star definitely fell within the southern farmlands, probably near the river bend. That one is manageable. You can reach it by midday. The brighter fall, though, sketched at a slanting westward plunge, that one is murkier. It may have landed in the Blackwood. You mutter a curse under your breath. The Blackwood is the sort of place even royal guards pretend not to see on a map. Trees so thick you can't see your own nose, roots that trip you when you swear the ground was flat, and things that whisper at the edge of your hearing. If the brighter star fell there, you're in for the kind of field trip that gets written about in tragic songs. A pigeon lands on your chart, cooing and leaving a delightful smear of droppings across the compass rose. You stare at it, dead-eyed. "Thank you," you sigh, dragging your sleeve over the mess. The pigeon flaps away, unimpressed. You roll the chart carefully, tie it, and slip it back into the case. Your notes join the star ledger in your satchel. The weight of your tools presses against your shoulder, a reminder of the burden you carry, not mystical or cosmic, but annoyingly physical. The bells of the palace toll the morning hour, deep and resonant. The sound carries across the city below, calling bakers to open their shops and guards to switch posts. For you, it means your window of quiet has closed. Soon there will be messages from the court, questions from rivals, and interruptions you'd rather avoid. You glance one last time at the sky, now empty of any streaks, just a pale canvas of clouds drifting lazily. The heavens look innocent, like they didn't just drop two fiery mysteries into your lap. That's the thing about stars. They always look beautiful before they ruin your schedule. Turning back into the observatory, you gather your cloak from its hook, shake off the dust, and wrap it around your shoulders. The hem is frayed from years of trudging through mud, but it still carries the faint scent of cedar oil used to ward off moths. You tuck the satchel beneath, cinch your belt tighter, and steel yourself for the trek ahead. Your reflection stares at you from the polished brass of the spyglass, hair sticking up in several ridiculous angles, ink smeared across your cheek, and the look of someone who really wishes he'd chosen a career involving fewer early mornings. Still, this is the role you've been handed, and stars, unfortunately, don't catalog themselves. The descent path map is finished. The south awaits. And if you're honest with yourself, you can already feel the weight of mud in your boots.
The palace gates loom ahead, iron bars taller than the tallest oak, gilded tips catching the sunlight in a way that always feels like the gates are mocking you. Look how grand we are, and here you are, ink stains on your robe, half asleep, muttering to yourself about star charts. You adjust the strap of your satchel, wishing you'd had more than stale bread for breakfast. A clatter of hooves draws your attention. A young page on a horse that looks far too energetic for this hour gallops up the road. The boy pulls hard on the reins, nearly pitching himself over the saddle as the beast skids to a halt. Dust sprays over your boots. Perfect, as if they weren't muddy enough already. The page fumbles with a scroll, almost dropping it, then thrusts it into your hands like it's on fire. His voice cracks when he blurts, "A message for the royal mythologist! Urgent!" "Urgent," you repeat, squinting at the seal. "You lot always say urgent. One day you'll show up with something that just says, mildly inconvenient. I'd frame it." The boy doesn't laugh, probably not sure if he's allowed, but he does shift uncomfortably in the saddle. His horse snorts, stamping the cobbles like it shares your irritation. You break the wax seal with your thumbnail. The parchment crackles as you unfurl it. The handwriting is hurried, the ink blotched, which tells you two things. The message was written by someone in a rush, and that someone did not care if you could read it without developing a headache. Still, you piece it together. Southern fields, strange fall. Farmer reports it still glows. Immediate investigation required. Your stomach sinks. A glowing shard means one of two things. Either the fall is fresh, or it's not entirely inert. Neither is good news. A still humming star in the wrong hands can wreak all sorts of mischief. Farmers don't have containment vaults, just barns. You glance up at the page. "Who sent this?" "The steward, sir. He says you're to go at once." "Of course he does." You roll the parchment and tuck it into your satchel with a sigh. Fine, go tell the steward I'm on my way, and for star's sake, slow that horse down before it throws you into a ditch. The boy nods, flushes red, and spurs the horse back toward the palace. You shake your head, muttering, "Children handling official business. What could possibly go wrong?" You start walking south, boots crunching on gravel, cloak dragging at your ankles. The road winds past the palace gardens, and already you regret not bribing someone for a mule. Every time you look up, the sunlight gleams innocently, as if mocking your long trudge. Servants bustle in the gardens, clipping roses and hauling baskets of herbs. They glance at you, some bowing awkwardly, some pretending not to notice. You're not really one of the glamorous courtiers. You're the strange man who talks about the sky and smells like candle smoke. Still, the emblem on your satchel earns you just enough respect to be tolerated. Halfway through the gardens, a guard intercepts you. He squints at the case on your shoulder, then at your boots. "Another one fell?" His tone is more weary than curious. "Two, actually, but only one message so far. The fields." The guard groans softly. "Every time, more work for us. Chasing peasants away, keeping livestock from chewing on glowing rocks." He waves you through with a flick of his hand. "Good luck, scholar." "Luck," you mutter as you pass him, "is in very short supply." The road bends, carrying you beyond the palace walls. From here, the land dips gently into farmland, squares of green and gold patchworked under the sun. Beyond that, a darker line of trees marks the forests, and beyond that, faint hills like sleeping beasts. Somewhere out there, a star waits for you, humming in the dirt. You check your chart again, fingers smudged with ink. The path is clear enough, south by the main road, then veer toward the river bend. If the farmer's message is right, the shard should be nearby. Of course, if the farmer isn't right, you'll spend the day slogging through fields while cows staring at you like you're deranged, which, frankly, isn't far from the truth. Your boots squelch as you step into softer earth. The morning dew has soaked the grass, and it clings stubbornly to your hems. You grumble, adjusting your cloak so it doesn't drag. Already the sun is climbing, promising a long, hot walk. At the edge of the fields, you pause to glance back. The palace rises behind you, white towers gleaming. The observatory dome is just visible, tiny from this distance. For a moment, you feel the weight of your work pressing heavier than your satchel. So many stars, all scribbled down, all kept safe in ink, yet they still keep falling. You mutter under your breath, "One of these days I'm going to nail the skies shut." The road splits, one track veering toward the river. You choose it, boots crunching against loose pebbles, cloak flapping like a tired banner. Somewhere ahead, a farmer is waiting for you with more bad news than you can carry.
The path narrows as you leave the main road, bending into the dew-soaked gardens that sprawl like a maze around the southern flank of the palace. Every hedge here has been trimmed into ridiculous shapes: dragons, knights, lions, even one bush suspiciously resembling the king's profile. A gardener crouches at its base, clipping with absurd devotion, as if one wrong snip might trigger execution. You give him a sympathetic nod as you pass. The grass squishes beneath your boots, water seeping instantly through the seams. You mutter under your breath, "Perfect, just perfect. Might as well be wading the river barefoot." The air smells sharp with wet earth and crushed petals, a scent too clean for someone who spends most of his life in dusty archives. A pair of young noblewomen stroll nearby under lace parasols, gossiping in voices pitched just loud enough for everyone to hear. Their words flutter toward you.
The mythologist again, always shuffling about, looking at mud. One of them titters like a bell. You pretend not to notice, but the back of your neck burns. You tug your cloak tighter and trudge on, weaving through topiary animals glaring at you with leafy eyes. Every so often, servants carrying baskets pause to watch you. They don't bow this far from the palace. They just stare, curiosity mixing with mild pity. You suspect most of them think you're insane. Honestly, you are not sure they're wrong. A marble fountain gurgles at the garden center, spraying arcs of water that sparkle in the morning light. You pause to catch your breath beside it, leaning on the stone edge. The water reflects your face, ink-smudged and tired, framed by the ridiculous curls of your hood. For a moment, you watch koi fish circle lazily in the basin. Their world is simple. Eat, swim, avoid becoming lunch. Yours, catalog the fragments of dying suns. No contest. You tear yourself away and follow the path toward the southern gate. Dew still clings to every blade of grass, soaking your hems until they slap damply against your shins. The sound is maddening. You start muttering curses in time with your steps, a rhythm of irritation. Drip, squelch, curse. Drip, squelch, curse. The gardens thin into orchards, neat rows of trees heavy with green fruit. The air hums with bees. You duck under low branches, batting leaves from your hair. Somewhere nearby, a dog barks furiously at nothing. Typical palace hound, convinced the wind is an enemy spy. Finally, the southern gate rises before you, iron set into stone, vines curling along its base. Two guards lean against their halberds, looking bored enough to fall asleep standing. One of them straightens when he sees you. "Off to chase another fallen rock?" he asks, his grin lopsided. "Catalog," I correct automatically. "Rocks don't hum, glow, or ruin perfectly good boots." The guard chuckles and swings the gate open. "Fair enough. Try not to bring anything cursed back this time, eh?" You step through without answering. Cursed, blessed, or indifferent, the stars fall anyway, and you're always the one sent to pick up the pieces. Beyond the gardens, the path slopes into farmland. Fields stretch wide, rippling with wheat and barley, stalks heavy with dew that glitters like spilled coins. Farmers already work the rows, bending with sickles or driving oxen through muddy furrows. When they spot you, some straighten, wiping their brows, curious. Word travels fast. Someone's probably already told them you're chasing a star. You glance at the chart in your satchel, the green line etched toward this very stretch of land. Somewhere ahead, embedded in soil still wet with morning, waits the shard. Your boots sink deeper into mud as you leave the stone road. The smell of manure thickens the air. Crows burst from a nearby field, flapping overhead with ragged cries. You wave them off irritably. The ground grows uneven, furrows tugging at your steps. In the distance, at the far edge of the field, you spot movement. A man waving frantically. His figure is backlit by the rising sun, hat askew, arms flailing like a drowning sailor. I sigh. And there's my farmer. The gardens are behind you now, nothing but damp hems and squelching boots as proof. Ahead lies the man and whatever treasure or trouble he's found in his fields. The farmer waves harder as you slog through the mud, his arms windmilling like he's trying to signal ships from landlocked soil. By the time you're within shouting distance, you can hear his voice cracking over the fields. "Sir, Sir Mythologist, over here! Saints above, you came!" You raise one hand in a half-hearted greeting, the other clutching your satchel strap before it saws your shoulder clean off. "Yes, I'm here. Stop flapping like a goose. I can see you."
The man wears rough linen trousers rolled above his knees, mud streaked up to his thighs. His hat looks like it's been stomped on by a mule, and his eyes are wild in the way of someone who hasn't blinked since dawn. He jogs toward you, boots squelching. "It's alive," he blurts, breathless. "I swear by the river's bend, it's alive. It hums and it glows and it—" You hold up a hand, cutting him off. "Slow down. What exactly did you see? And if you say it spoke to you, I'll turn around and go home right now." The farmer shakes his head frantically. "Not spoke, not like words, more like singing. A sound in my teeth, in my bones. My wife said she heard it too, and she ran back to the house, said she wouldn't come within 10 paces of it again." You groan softly. Singing. Perfect. That means the shard still carries resonance from the fall. Resonance can twist into stories, into dreams, even into madness if handled poorly. Which, of course, it will be, because farmers don't exactly come trained in royal containment methods. "All right," you mutter. "Show me." He leads you across the rows of wheat, heads bowing golden in the morning wind. Dew flicks against your cloak with every step. The farmer keeps glancing over his shoulder to make sure you're still there, as though he might lose courage if left in front. Finally, he halts at the field's edge. His arm shoots out, finger trembling. There it is. At first you see nothing, just churned earth, a dark crater no wider than a wagon wheel. Smoke rises faintly, and the scent hits you, sharp metal, like lightning striking an anvil. Then your eyes adjust. Nestled in the soil is a shard the size of a melon, glowing, faintly green, its surface slick as glass. Cracks vein its skin, each seam pulsing with pale light. The hum is real, too, low and steady, vibrating up through your boots, rattling your knees. You kneel carefully at the crater's edge, ignoring how the mud stains your robe. Up close, the shard is beautiful, almost too beautiful, like a jewel carved by hands no mortal smith could hope to match. Its glow paints your fingertips an eerie emerald as you reach toward it. The farmer hovers behind you. "See? See what I meant? It's alive, isn't it? Tell me I'm not mad." You're not mad, though you're not entirely sure that's true. But whether it's alive depends on how you define alive. Does it breathe? No. Does it hum like an overexcited beehive? Yes. He doesn't laugh. Farmers rarely get the joke. You sigh and lean closer. The shard's song resonates in your jaw, a vibration more felt than heard. It carries rhythm, almost like music, long notes, rising, falling. You've cataloged hundreds of fallen stars, but this sound feels unusually strong. The resonance hasn't faded the way it usually does after impact, which means either it fell from closer in the firmament or it's clinging to some deeper story. The farmer wipes his brow with a shaky hand. "It's not safe, is it? Should I move my cattle? Should I send the children away?" You straighten, brushing mud from your knees. "If your cow starts singing, let me know. For now, don't touch it. Don't let anyone else touch it, especially not children. The last thing I need is a lullaby in the village well." He swallows hard, nodding. "So you'll take it?" "Eventually," I mutter, reaching for my satchel. "But first I need to record it. Otherwise the court will think I made the whole thing up. And I really don't want to attend another hearing where the astrologer smirks at me like a smug cat." You withdraw your quill and parchment, setting them on a flat stone. Ink pools dark and slick as you dip the nib. Carefully you sketch the shard's outline, noting the size of the crater, the veins of light, the precise shade of green. Beside it you write the first impressions of its song. Low hum, steady rhythm, teeth vibration. You add, unpleasant but tolerable. The farmer peers over your shoulder, awestruck. "You just write it down, and that keeps it safe?" "No," I say flatly. "Writing it down just keeps me safe from being yelled at by people in ridiculous hats. The safety part comes later." The shard flickers brighter, almost as if it takes offense. You glance at it sharply. For a second, you swear the glow pulses in sync with your heartbeat. Then it steadies, humming like before. You cap the inkwell, roll the parchment, and tuck it into the case. The first stage is done. Catalog before containment always. If you skip the words, the story of the shard slips loose. And then good luck explaining that to the king. You dust your hands on your robe and sigh. Right, now comes the unpleasant part. The farmer blinks. What's that? Touching it, you reply.
You crouch again at the edge of the crater, the damp soil crumbling under your boots. The shard sits half-buried, gleaming like a lantern sunk in mud. The hum swells as you reach for it, a vibration crawling into your bones, filling your skull until your thoughts feel crowded. The farmer leans forward nervously. Do you need gloves? Or rope? I've got rope. You shake your head, stretching your fingers toward the shard. Gloves won't stop resonance. Rope would only make me look ridiculous. Your hand hovers inches above the surface. The glow intensifies. Green light bathing your palm, your wrist, the veins in your arm. You feel a static crackle pop against your skin. It's warm, not searing, not burning, but warmer than any stone should be. The hum jumps into a higher pitch the instant your fingertips graze the surface. The vibration shoots up your arm like a bolt, rattling your teeth. For a moment you see nothing but light, green veins webbing across your vision, pulsing in rhythm with your pulse. You grit your teeth and force your hand flatter against it. Easy, I'm not here to break you, just to name you. The farmer makes a choking sound, as though convinced you're about to explode. The shard quivers faintly, and then suddenly the hum stabilizes. Still loud, still resonant, but steady. You can breathe again. You slide your other hand underneath, lifting carefully. The shard resists at first, as though it prefers its bed of earth, then comes free with a sucking sound. Soil clings to its smooth surface before crumbling away. You cradle it against your chest. It weighs more than it looks, denser, like it's made of compressed storm. The glow bleeds through your robes, painting your ribs in eerie green. Every breath you take feels amplified, as though the shard is listening. Behind you, the farmer whispers, "Saints preserve us." You glance at him, your teeth still buzzing. They won't. That's my job. With your knee, you nudge the satchel open and lower the shard into the padded case designed exactly for this. The moment it settles inside, the hum dampens, like cloth muffling a bell. Not silent, but quieter. You fasten the straps tight. The farmer exhales shakily, wiping his brow. "You did it! Stars above, you really did it!" "Of course I did it. It's literally my job. If I didn't, who would? You? With rope?" He has the decency not to argue. You fish out a thin strip of parchment from your case, along with a small iron stylus. Kneeling by the crater, you press the parchment flat against the soil and inscribe a symbol, the shard's mark, the proof it has been logged and claimed for the crown. When you peel the strip back, the impression glows faintly before fading to ordinary ink. "There," you say, straightening, "officially recorded. If anyone asks, this hole belongs to the royal archives now." The farmer frowns. "Can a hole belong to anyone?" "Yes," you reply curtly, "and in this case it belongs to me. Well, technically to the crown, but they never come out here, do they?" He scratches his head, clearly uncertain whether to thank you or run. "So, is it over?" You sling the satchel over your shoulder. The muffled hum presses against your ribs. The sun is climbing higher, heating the air, drying the last of the morning dew. Birds wheel overhead, oblivious. For a moment you allow yourself to breathe. One shard secured, one task done. If life were fair, you'd head straight back to the observatory, file your notes, and collapse into bed. But life isn't fair. You remember the other fall, the blinding flash in the western sky. That one is still waiting, and if the green shard was this lively, the other could be worse. You mutter to yourself as you start walking back across the field. Why couldn't I have been a baker, or a tanner, or literally anything that doesn't involve glowing rocks trying to vibrate my bones into powder? The wheat sways gently in the breeze, as though laughing at you.
You don't make it far before the ritual tugs at you, unfinished, like an itch in the back of your skull. Cataloging isn't just scribbles on parchment and neat little sketches. It requires the old words, the ones muttered under your breath so the shard's story doesn't unravel into chaos. You pause at the edge of the field, the satchel heavy against your hip, humming like a caged hive. Of course, you sigh. Can't just carry it home like laundry. No, it needs ceremony. You kneel in the grass, pulling out the small obsidian tablet you keep wrapped in cloth. Its surface is scratched with hundreds of tiny grooves, each one a record of a star you've logged. The grooves hum faintly in response to the satchel, as though eager for a sibling. You unfasten the straps and open the flap just enough to let the shard glow through. The farmer's field is quiet now, only the soft rustle of wheat and the distant bleating of goats. You dip your quill into the ink pot, but this isn't ordinary ink. It's a concoction of soot, river water, and powdered silver, thick, metallic, clinging to the nib. The smell is sharp, almost sweet, like iron and rain. You press the quill to the obsidian, dragging lines in slow, deliberate arcs. Each movement binds the shard's story to the record. You mutter the incantation under your breath, your tongue stumbling over syllables that taste like copper. The shard responds. Its hum shifts, pulsing in time with your strokes. When you pause, so does it. When you finish a line, it trembles faintly, as if acknowledging the entry. You feel the resonance seep into the tablet, where it joins the murmuring chorus of past stars. You seal the writing with a sharp tap of the stylus. The ink sinks into the grooves, glowing briefly before settling into dull silver. Another star, officially bound. Another fragment of heaven, tamed to the page. You sit back on your heels, rubbing the ache from your wrist. The air feels lighter now, the hum less aggressive, though still present. The shard is no longer raw chaos. It has a name, a place, a story pinned down. Without the ritual, the shard could have whispered its resonance into anything, a plow, a child, a cow unfortunate enough to chew it. Now at least it won't spread unchecked. The farmer's dog trots up from somewhere, sniffing curiously at the air. Its ears flick at the faint hum, but it doesn't growl, just cocks its head and sits. A good sign. Animals can sense when the ritual fails, usually by bolting for the hills. See, you tell the dog, all perfectly normal. Just a glowing stone that hums like a drunk choir. The dog yawns and scratches behind its ear. Satisfied, you rewrap the tablet and tuck it into your satchel alongside the shard. The bag is heavy now, uncomfortably so. Every step back toward the road feels like you're dragging the sky itself. Still, the ritual is complete. The ledger is safe. You mutter the last line of the ritual to yourself as you walk. As above, so below, and into ink forever. The words are supposed to reassure you, to remind you that chaos is managed, that the heavens are orderly if only you write them down. But today, they sound hollow. Because the brighter fall, the one that scorched your eyes, still waits unrecorded. And if the green shard sang this loudly, you don't even want to imagine what the other is doing. The satchel hums at your side as you trudge back to the dirt road. Boots still wet, robes still mud-stained. Birds sing cheerfully above, oblivious to the fact that a piece of the cosmos just landed in a farmer's field. You sigh, adjusting the strap on your sore shoulder. One down, one more to go, and I bet it's in the most miserable place possible. The dog barks once, almost like it agrees. The dirt road is quiet as you plod along, satchel thumping against your hip. The shard hums low inside, a muffled heartbeat you can't quite ignore.
You mutter to yourself about sore shoulders and how unfair it is that stars never fall in places with taverns attached. The farmer's fields fade behind you, replaced by hedgerows and scrub. For a brief, blissful moment, you almost convince yourself the rest of the journey might stay uneventful. That's when you hear hooves. Sharp, clipped hooves on stone, accompanied by the unmistakable jangle of ceremonial chains. You groan before you even turn around. Sure enough, a gilded carriage rolls into view, drawn by two perfectly groomed horses that look as though they sneer at the mud. And riding alongside, perched far too proudly for his own good, is your least favorite person in the kingdom, the royal astrologer. He spots you instantly, of course. His voice cuts the air like a cracked trumpet. "Mythologist, there you are, skulking in the dirt where you belong." I pinch the bridge of my nose. Oh, wonderful, just when I thought my day couldn't get worse. The astrologer reins his horse to a stop beside you, nearly knocking your shoulder with the beast's flank. His robes are absurdly clean, dyed deep blue with silver constellations embroidered along the hem. His hat is taller than it has any right to be, tapering like a spire. You suspect it was designed solely to make him look important from a distance. He sneers down at you. "Word reached me of a fall in these fields. I assume you've already blundered into it." I pat the satchel at my side, keeping my face blank. Catalogued and contained, as required by the crown. No blundering involved. The astrologer leans closer, eyes narrowing. "Contained? You? Do you even understand the forces you're trifling with? Shards such as these belong under the stewardship of my order. The stars are our domain." I smirk. Funny, because last I checked, your order spends most of its time drawing pretty diagrams and arguing about which constellation looks most like a goat. Meanwhile, I'm the one knee-deep in mud with glowing rocks rattling my spine. Tell me again how it's your domain? His lips curl. "Blasphemous scribbler! You reduce the divine to ink scratches and petty notes. The heavens demand reverence, not bookkeeping." I spread my hands. "Oh yes, because reverence has worked wonders at keeping shards from driving farmers mad in their sleep. Tell me, do you also bow at runaway fires, or do you eventually learn to use a bucket?" The astrologer stiffens, his horse stamping in agitation. For a second, you think he might actually try to knock the satchel from your grasp, but instead he straightens, voice dripping venom. "This insolence will be noted. The court will hear of your disrespect." I roll my eyes. Yes, please write me another scathing letter on perfumed parchment. I'll treasure it." The carriage door creaks open, and a thin, pale apprentice leans out, clearly uncomfortable. "Master, shall we continue to the palace?" The astrologer huffs, tugging at his reins. "Indeed, but mark my words, mythologist, the heavens do not belong to you. They will never belong to you." You watch as the carriage rattles away, dust rising in its wake. His words echo in your ears, pompous and hollow, but irritating nonetheless. You mutter to yourself, "If the heavens don't belong to me, they certainly don't belong to a man in a hat shaped like a chimney." The satchel hums again, almost like it's laughing. You pat it gently. Don't encourage him. You resume walking, the road stretching long ahead. The sun is higher now, heat pressing against your back. Every step feels heavier, the shard's resonance seeping through cloth and leather, as though it reminded you, this is only the beginning.
You don't get more than a mile past the astrologer before the road bends into the shadow of a crooked oak. Its branches sprawl in all directions, gnarled and twisted like a hand frozen mid-grab. Farmers use it as a landmark, carving their initials into the bark, or hanging old shoes from the branches for luck. Today, though, the shade feels less like luck and more like a trap, because there he is again, the astrologer. He's dismounted, his ridiculous hat catching in the low branches, forcing him to stoop. His apprentice stands nearby, clutching scrolls to his chest like a human bookshelf. Both of them block the narrow stretch of road, clearly waiting for you. You sigh so loudly it startles a crow from the tree. Didn't we just have this conversation back there? Or do you enjoy repeating yourself in new and exciting patches of mud? The astrologer folds his arms, robes swishing dramatically, though a burr has clung stubbornly to the hem, ruining the effect. You avoided a formal discussion. Here you cannot walk away. You glance theatrically around. Strange. Looks like a road to me. Roads usually lead somewhere. Walking seems entirely possible. He bristles. This is not jest. That shard belongs to the celestial order. The king will recognize our rightful claim once I present evidence. You tap the satchel. Funny, because the king also recognizes my job, which involves carrying things that hum like angry bees. Unless you'd like to trade places. I'll wear your hat. You can haul this stone until your ribs rattle loose. The apprentice coughs nervously, eyes darting between you both. Masters, perhaps silence, the astrologer snaps, without even looking. The boy shrinks into himself, clutching his scrolls tighter. You crouch theatrically, plucking a pebble from the dirt. You hold it out with mock solemnity. Here, why don't you practice? Pretend this is a shard. It's heavy, dangerous, might hum if you listen very closely. The astrologer's face reddens, veins bulging at his temple. For a moment, you think he might lunge. His fists clench, boots grinding into the mud. But then he exhales slowly, smoothing his robes. You mock because you fear. You know your rituals are but scratches on stone. Without our guidance, the shards will devour you. You lean back against the oak, crossing your arms. If by devour you mean make my teeth buzz, then yes. Terrifying. Utterly tragic. The tension crackles between you, sharp as a blade. The oak creaks in the wind, leaves whispering overhead. Finally, the astrologist steps aside, his voice dripping poison. Go then, carry your little rock, but remember my words when it breaks your mind. You tip an imaginary hat. And remember mine when your real hat gets stuck in another branch. The apprentice bites his lip, clearly fighting a smile. You catch his eye for a second, and he quickly looks away, guilt painted across his face. You shoulder past, the satchel bumping against your hip. As you leave the shade of the oak, you mutter just loud enough for the astrologer to hear. Stars fall for everyone. Some of us just bother to pick them up. Behind you, the man doesn't answer, but you feel his glare burning between your shoulder blades until the road curves out of sight.
The road evens out as you leave the oak and the astrologer behind, stretching across open farmland once more. Wheat fields sway on either side, gold flickering in the sun. For the first time today, the satchel feels less like a burden and more like a reminder. Its hums steady, controlled after your ritual, still heavy but manageable. You squint toward the horizon. The brighter fall, yesterday's second strike, is supposed to be somewhere beyond the river, near the northern woods. You mutter to yourself, of course it couldn't have landed in a tavern cellar. No, it had to bury itself in brambles and mosquitoes. The sun is climbing, heat pressing down on your shoulders. Sweat collects at your collar. You stop briefly at a roadside trough, dunking your hands in the cool water, then splashing your face. The relief lasts all of 3 seconds before the satchel hums louder, almost impatient. Fine, fine, you grumble, swinging it back into place. We're going. The road narrows and dips, sloping toward a shallow valley where the sound of water grows louder. Soon, the bridge comes into view,
a wide span of wood arched over a lazy green river. Its planks creak under the weight of passing carts, while swallows swoop beneath, darting in and out of their mud nests tucked along the beams. You pause at the bridge's entrance, leaning against the railing. The water glitters below, slow and dappled with drifting leaves. Somewhere downstream, children laugh as they splash along the shallows. Their shouts carry faintly through the warm air. You watch them for a moment, strangely envious. None of them have to worry about humming stones or pompous astrologers. A cart rolls past, pulled by oxen, the driver giving you a wary glance. His eyes linger on your satchel, as though he can sense the vibration inside. You clutch it closer, offering no explanation. Best not to invite questions. Halfway across the bridge, you stop again, this time because of the view. Beyond the river, the land rises toward a dark smear of trees, the northern woods. Even from here, you can feel something faintly different in the air, as if the breeze carries a low thrum that has nothing to do with insects or water. The shard, the brighter one. It pulls at you, subtle but undeniable, like a plucked string humming faintly in your bones. "Wonderful," you murmur, "already singing and I'm not even close." You grip the railing tighter. The wood is warm beneath your palms, sticky with resin. You take a slow breath, trying to steady yourself. This shard won't be like the green one in the farmer's field. This one burned hotter, brighter. You can feel it from here. It will be stronger, more volatile. For a moment, the idea of turning back crosses your mind. Let the astrologer trip over his own hat in the woods. Let the shard hum itself into silence. But you know better. The king won't tolerate negligence, and the shard's resonance might spread if left alone. That farmer's field was a whisper compared to this. You push away from the railing and continue across, boots thudding against wood. On the far side, a dirt path leads upward through scrub and rocky soil, winding toward the tree line. Every step closer sharpens the resonance, like a ringing in your ears only you can hear. You mutter as you walk, partly to distract yourself, partly because silence feels too heavy. Maybe it's small, just a pebble. Maybe it's lying politely in a clearing, waiting to be wrapped and carried. Maybe it won't hum at all. The satchel against your hip vibrates faintly, as if mocking you. Right, or maybe it'll explode the moment I sneeze near it. Fantastic odds! The path steepens, dust clinging to your boots. The northern woods loom larger now, shadows pooling beneath their canopy. The air is cooler, but heavier too, thick with the promise of something waiting. You adjust the strap on your shoulder and trudge on. The bridge is behind you, the river fading into quiet. Ahead lies the second fall, bright and hungry.
The northern woods don't welcome you so much as swallow you whole. The moment you step under their canopy, the world changes. The sunlight fractures into thin beams, catching on dust and pollen like drifting gold. The air smells of wet bark and mushrooms, earthy and close. Each footstep crunches softly on a mat of pine needles, muffling your presence. The resonance grows stronger here, no longer a faint tug, but a steady vibration in your ribs. It doesn't hum like the green shard. This one thrums, deep and pulsing, a slow heartbeat you can feel in your teeth. Every bird call seems to fall silent around it, as though even the sparrows want nothing to do with what's ahead. Lovely, you mutter, because this place wasn't unsettling enough without cosmic percussion. You follow the faint track through the underbrush, branches snagging at your sleeves. The forest thickens quickly, crowding close until you're ducking under limbs and brushing past ferns taller than your chest. Shafts of light appear and vanish with every step. Then you notice them, signs of the fall. The first is the smell, a sharp tang of ozone, out of place among moss and loam. The second is the ground itself, where the ferns are bent outward in a circle, as though blown back by some invisible blast. You crouch, running a hand across the soil. It's warm, faintly scorched, the dirt packed tight in a way that makes the hairs on your arm rise. You stand quickly, scanning the shadows. The shard isn't far. You can feel it pulling, thrumming harder, insistent. All right, show yourself. The path winds downward into a shallow glade. At its center yawns a crater, 10 paces across, its edges charred and rimmed with blackened ferns. Smoke still curls faintly from the soil, though the air is damp and cool. And at the crater's heart lies the shard. It's no pebble. The stone is the size of a melon, jagged and glowing a fierce blue-white, so bright you have to squint. Its surface shifts as though molten, threads of light crawling across it like veins. Every pulse shakes the air, rippling invisible waves that make your teeth ache. You grip the satchel tighter. Even the green shard inside seems to react, humming louder, resonating in sympathy or alarm, you can't tell which. You step closer, boots sliding on loose soil. The heat rising from the crater prickles your skin, hot but not burning, like standing too close to a forge. The resonance deepens, filling your skull until your thoughts stumble. Okay, you whisper, half to the shard, half to yourself. You're big, and loud, and not at all interested in being catalogued quietly. Great. You lower the satchel to the ground, unfastening it with shaking fingers. The obsidian tablet is there, waiting, wrapped carefully in its cloth. You spread it out, the black surface glinting faintly. The silver ink pot rattles as you set it down, trembling with each pulse of the shard. The ritual will be harder this time. You can feel it already. Containing a shard this size is like trying to sketch thunder into a box. Still, that's the job. You dip the quill, silver ink gleaming thick and heavy. The first line drags across the obsidian, but your hand wavers with each vibration. The shard pulses harder, brighter, almost as though resisting. Sweat stings your eyes. You grit your teeth, forcing the strokes, muttering the syllables under your breath. The words taste sharper this time, bitter as iron. Each symbol feels like it fights you, sliding crooked under the quill. The shard flashes, a blinding flare that sears white across your vision. You nearly drop the quill, heart pounding, but you press on, dragging spiral after spiral, stroke after stroke. The ground trembles once beneath your knees. Leaves shake loose from the trees above. A flock of birds bursts from the canopy, screaming as they scatter into the sky. You keep writing. You don't stop. Finally, the last line locks into place, a jagged hook. The ink flares, then sinks into the grooves with a hiss. The obsidian tablet thrums in response, harmonizing with the shard's resonance. The pulsing slows. The light dims. The shard collapses inward just slightly, as if exhaling. Its glow steadies, softer now, though still blinding compared to the green one. You slump back on your heels, chest heaving. Your quill hand trembles violently, stained with silver ink. The hum hasn't vanished, but it no longer rattles your bones. You let out a shaky laugh. All right, that wasn't so bad. Just nearly deafened me, blinded me, and collapsed a small portion of the forest. Easy. The shard sits quietly at the crater's heart, waiting.
You stare at the shard for a long moment, waiting for it to twitch or flare again. It doesn't. The glow is steady now. The resonance quieter, still there, still heavy, but tolerable. Like living next to a mill, the grinding never truly stops, but your bones stop rattling after a while. Right, you mutter, wiping your forehead with your sleeve. Time to carry the sun in a sack. What could possibly go wrong? You climb into the crater, boots slipping on loose ash, and wrap both arms around the shard. The heat seeps through your robes, not painful exactly, but unnervingly alive. Your arms prickle as though the stone's light is crawling into your veins. You hoist it upward with a grunt, much heavier than it looks, of course. The satchel was never built for something this size. You wrestle it open, shoving the shard inside while muttering every curse you've ever learned in 3 different dialects. The object resists, scraping against the edges like it would prefer to remain free. But once it's inside, the leather sags under the weight, straining but holding. The clasp seals with a snap that feels far too loud in the hushed glade. You sling the satchel back over your shoulder, staggering a step under its weight. Your knees nearly give, but you steady yourself. The vibration now is constant, muffled, like thunder trapped in cloth. Your teeth ache in sympathy. "Perfect," you wheeze. "Now I'll be rattling all the way home." The climb out of the crater leaves you panting, fingers gripping the blackened rim. You haul yourself up and stand shakily at the edge, glaring down at the circle of scorched earth. It already looks less like a wound and more like part of the forest, charred, smoking, but quiet. Still, you're not fooled. If left unchecked, that shard would have eaten the silence whole. The path back feels longer, though you know it isn't. Every step sends a dull jolt through your spine. Twice you stop to rest against tree trunks, sucking in damp forest air, trying to ignore the way the satchel buzzes like a wasp nest. By the time you emerge from the tree line, afternoon sun has slanted westward. The world feels brighter, sharper, as though the shard inside you makes everything else dim by comparison. Even the bridge seems smaller, less significant as you cross it again. The river churns beneath, but you barely notice. The road leads you onward, dust rising in little puffs around your boots. Far ahead, the palace towers begin to rise, stone and glass catching the light. You don't sigh in relief, so much as groan in dread. Because if carrying these things across the countryside was trouble, delivering them into the vault will be worse. The outer gates loom. Guards in polished steel stand stiff as carved statues. Their eyes flick to your sagging satchel. One of them opens his mouth, but you glare first, sharp enough to cut the words out of him. He swallows and steps aside without protest. Smart man. Inside the courtyard, servants hurry past with baskets of laundry and bolts of cloth. Stable boys whistle as they guide sweating horses. The world of the palace spins on, as though you weren't hauling a fragment of sky under your arm. You're half tempted to shout, "Do you people not feel this? The air literally shakes!" But no, better to keep your mouth shut. The path winds down into the archive tunnels, torchlit and cold. Each door you pass is thicker than the last, carved with wards and inlaid with iron. When the final gate groans open, you step into the vault. The temperature drops instantly, a damp chill that clings to your bones. Shelves line the cavernous hall, laden with cases and jars and stone boxes etched with runes. Each holds a shard, each hums faintly, together weaving a low chorus that never truly ends. The sound is strange, almost musical, like standing in the middle of a cathedral organ played underwater. Most people can't stand it for more than a minute. You, unfortunately, have to live here. You stagger to an empty plinth near the back, heaving the satchel onto its plinth. The vibration buzzes up through the stone. Your hands fumble with the clasp, leather creaking as you drag the shard free. It gleams brighter than all the others, its light spilling across the walls in ghostly ripples. For a moment, the entire vault hushes. Even the other shard's humming softens, as if they're listening. You set the tablet beside it, now marked with the silver script of its traits. The ink shimmers, threads linking the tablet to the shard. The bond takes hold slowly, like vines curling around a stone. Finally, with a click that echoes in your skull, the shard's resonance locks. The vibration lessens, dimming into the chorus of the others. Still louder, still prouder, but contained. You sag against the plinth, breathing hard. 2 down, and only several dozen more to go before retirement. Your voice echoes across the vault, thin and weary. The shard rests silently, light spilling across the obsidian tablet, waiting for the next poor fool to disturb it.
Your legs don't want to move. They protest with a dull, throbbing heaviness as you stand from the plinth, stretching your spine until it pops. The vault air is so cold it makes your teeth chatter, yet sweat beads along your neck. You mutter under your breath, "Brilliant, frozen and roasted at the same time. I should start charging hazard pay." The chorus of the shards follows you as you walk the long aisle between shelves. Some sing higher, some lower, each one bound to its obsidian record. Together, it's like being trapped inside a beehive, so constant you forget silence even exists. You brush your fingers against one of the older plinths as you pass. The shard within is dull, its glow reduced to embers, the tablet etched centuries ago by hands steadier than yours. You envy whoever had time to write their lines neatly. The far end of the vault rises into stone steps spiraling upward toward the inner chambers of the palace. You take them 2 at a time, partly to get warm, partly because if you stop moving, you might collapse right here and be cataloged as an artifact yourself. At the top, the archivist is waiting. Master Hevlin looks the way dust would if it were given a beard and spectacles. His robes hang from his frame like drapes on a bent rod, ink stains blooming across the sleeves. He peers over a stack of ledgers as you emerge, his eyes magnified absurdly by lenses thick as coin glass. "You're late," he says, voice crackling like parchment. "I nearly exploded," I reply, deadpan. "Forgive me for not sprinting." Hevlin narrows his eyes, then scribbles something onto a page without looking at you. "The second shard is secured?" "Secured, catalogued, and humming away in your favorite corner. If it wakes up and eats the ceiling, not my fault." He sniffs. "Dramatic, as always. You'll record the full entry in the codex before supper." I roll my eyes, because supper always tastes better after writing about how close I came to immolation. He doesn't answer, already hunched over his ledgers again, quill scratching like an insect in the dark. You take that as permission to leave. The corridor outside is brighter, lined with tapestries of past kings, each one glaring down with enough smugness to curdle milk. You walk beneath their gazes, muttering, "Yes, yes, all of you had glorious reigns, none of you had to carry chunks of fallen sky in a leather sack. Congratulations." Your chambers are small, but mercifully private. The desk is cluttered with parchment, half-written notes, quills chewed to splinters. You collapse into the chair, pulling the great codex toward you. Its leather cover groans with age, thick with centuries of cramped handwriting. Every royal mythologist before you has left their scratchings here, warnings, diagrams, the occasional nervous doodle in the margins. You dip a quill into black ink this time, flipping to a fresh page. Entry, second fall, west of the river, near northern woods. Your handwriting is terrible, always has been, but you force the words anyway, dragging the details onto the page. Crater size, shard dimensions, color and heat, resonance effects, near collapse of local wildlife. You pause, considering how much sarcasm you can sneak past Hevlin's review. Eventually, you settle for threat level, approximately burn your eyebrows off. Handling risk, high. You sit back, stretching your cramped fingers. The codex stares back, ink drying slowly, the new entry sliding into centuries of similar reports. A long line of fools, each dutifully cataloging Skyfire until their hearts gave out. You wonder how many of them lived long enough to retire. Your stomach growls. Right, supper. The hall is buzzing when you arrive. Courtiers chatter, servants weave through with trays, and the smell of roasted duck mixes with onions and wine. You grab a trencher and slide onto a bench at the far end, hoping to be ignored. Of course, you aren't. Lord Asterel, a courtier whose robes contain more gold thread than human flesh, leans across the table. "Tell us, mythologist, were you successful today? I heard thunder in the woods." I stab a piece of duck. "That wasn't thunder." Gasps ripple faintly down the table, the courtiers eager for spectacle. Someone murmurs, "Another shard?" "Two, actually. Both secured, both extremely loud, both very much not your business." Asterel smirks, sipping his wine. "Surely you exaggerate. They're just stones, after all." I slammed my cup down, hard enough to rattle plates. The table quiets. "Just stones?" I repeat. "Would you like to hold one and find out? I can arrange that. Of course, I'll have to sweep your ashes off the flagstones afterward." The courtiers laugh nervously. Asterel pales but doesn't reply. Satisfied, I return to my meal, chewing as though nothing had happened. The king will hear about today, you know it, and the king will want words with you.
The summons arrives before you finish breakfast. A page no taller than your elbow scurries into the hall, clutching a scroll tied in crimson ribbon. He avoids your eyes as he holds it out, as though the parchment itself might bite. "From His Majesty," the boy squeaks, then flees before you can reply. You untie the ribbon with sticky fingers, half a roll left uneaten on your plate, and scan the message. The king requests your presence immediately. No details, no courtesy, just come, now. "Lovely," you mutter. Nothing says productive morning like royal scolding. You abandon the roll and trudge through the corridors. The palace gleams in the morning light, windows spilling gold across marble floors. Servants sweep endlessly, polishing until the stone shines like water. You've walked these halls enough to know every crack in the tiles, every spot where the rugs wrinkle, but today your stomach knots with each step. The throne room is cavernous, echoing even before the herald's voice booms. "The royal mythologist summoned by His Majesty." The doors swing wide, and you stride into a sea of watching eyes. Courtiers cluster in embroidered waves, their whispers buzzing like gnats. The king sits at the far end, draped in furs despite the warmth, his crown tilting slightly, as though even it is weary of the weight. His gaze fixes on you, sharp and unsmiling. You bow, though not deeply. "Your Majesty." The king's voice rolls through the chamber, practiced and heavy. "It has come to my attention that yesterday the northern woods shook. Peasants speak of fire in the sky, and you, it seems, were in the center of it." You raise an eyebrow. "Correct, that was me. Well, the shard, but yes, both of us." A ripple of uneasy laughter runs through the courtiers. The king doesn't smile. "You retrieved it?" "Yes, contained, catalogued, stored in the vault with all the others." "And yet," the king says, leaning forward, "the noise of it carried for leagues. Villagers fled their fields. Even my guards felt the earth shudder." You spread your hands.
What would you prefer? That I leave it to hum a crater into the countryside? It was enthusiastic, yes, but it's secure now. The king drums his armrest on the armrest. You risk much carrying such things through my lands. What if you failed? I didn't. He studies you for a long moment, then waves the courtiers away. They scatter, robes whispering, glances darting toward you as they go. When the doors close, only the king and 2 guards remain. His tone softens, just slightly. Tell me true, mythologist, do these shards grow stronger? Are they changing? You hesitate. This is not the blustering question of a monarch wanting reassurance. This is a man worried. You sigh. They're unpredictable. Some burn, some sing, some are harmless enough to juggle, though I don't recommend it. But the last one, you rub your temple. Yes, stronger, more willful, if that makes sense. The king's jaw tightens. And if they continue to grow, then your vault becomes an orchestra pit with no conductor. He chuckles once, dry as dust. You joke even now. You shrug. It's either that or panic, and I don't have time for panic. The king leans back, crown glinting. Very well, you will continue your work, but you will also report directly to me after each retrieval. No more leaving me to hear through frightened peasants and gossiping lords. You bow your head slightly. Understood. Go, rest while you can. I suspect the sky is not finished with us yet. You turn to leave, pulse still racing from the encounter. Outside the throne room, courtiers hover like vultures, eager for scraps of overheard words. You push past them, muttering, "If any of you want the job, be my guest." The corridors blur as you head back toward your chambers. You need air, space, silence. Except, silence doesn't exist in your line of work. The vault still hums faintly in your skull, even here, even now. You wonder, briefly, what will happen when the shards stop humming separately and decide to sing together.
The thought won't leave you. All through the afternoon it gnaws at the back of your head, shards singing together, their hums aligning like an army marching in step. You've never heard it, not fully, but you dreamed it. Nights where the vault's chorus swells into one unbearable note that rattles your teeth until they crack. You decide to distract yourself with something ordinary. Unfortunately, ordinary for you means sharpening quills and boiling glue for bookbinding. Your chambers smell of ink and boiled hide, which is somehow preferable to thinking about cosmic choirs. But just as you're settling into copying diagrams into the codex, there's a knock. Not the polite tap of a servant. This is insistent, urgent, nearly panicked. You open the door to find Hevelin, your archivist master, looking more like a storm cloud than a man. His spectacles are fogged, his beard bristling in every direction. "Come," he wheezes, "now!" "Can it wait until I finish hating myself over handwriting?" you ask. "No," he snaps, already turning down the corridor. You sigh and follow, boots slapping stone. The palace feels different tonight, quieter, as though the servants themselves sense something brewing. Torches spit along the walls, shadows lunging with each flicker. Hevelin leads you not toward the vault, but toward the observatory tower. Your stomach dips. The tower is only used for one thing: looking at the sky. You emerge into the wide, domed chamber, its glass ceiling showing a scatter of stars across velvet black.
Several assistants huddle at the brass telescope, whispering nervously. When they see you, they step back as if you might catch fire at any moment. "Look," Hevelin orders. You lean to the eyepiece, one eye squinting. The stars swim, then settle into sharp clarity, and there it is. A streak of light tearing across the heavens, brighter than the rest, heading downward. A fall. Another shard. But not ordinary one. It isn't just white flame, it flickers crimson and gold, spitting sparks as though the sky itself is burning. And behind it trails something like smoke, black and thick, curling unnaturally. You pull back. That doesn't look friendly. Hevelin's face is pale, his knuckles white on the telescope. It is larger than the others, and falling faster. You rub your eyes, because clearly the last two weren't enough exercise. Fine, where's it landing? An assistant unfurls a star chart, finger trembling as she points to the mountains east of the city. The range is jagged, treacherous, crawling with bandits and worse. You groan. Excellent. Just where I wanted to spend tomorrow, dodging arrows and falling rocks. Hevelin adjusts his spectacles. You must be ready before dawn. The king will expect you to... Of course he will. Let me guess. No escort, no horses, just me and a satchel versus a flaming godstone. He frowns. You exaggerate. You gesture at the sky. Do I? Look at that thing. It's practically writing my epitaph. The assistants exchange uneasy glances. One murmurs, what if it's too big to contain? The room goes quiet. Even Hevelin doesn't answer. You swallow. If it is, then we improvise. The comet, because it feels wrong to call it anything smaller, burns lower inch by inch, like a torch falling toward dried tinder. Somewhere out there, mountains wait to be split. Somewhere out there, another crater yawns open before it even exists. You straighten, forcing your voice steady. All right, I'll prepare. I'll need extra binding tablets, fresh ink, and someone to carry all that glue. Hevelin actually snorts. Glue. Yes, glue! The only thing between me and cosmic collapse. He shakes his head, but doesn't argue. The assistants scatter, fetching supplies, while you stand beneath the glass dome, watching the streak of fire across the night. It feels alive. A challenge, almost. You whisper, too low for anyone else to hear. Fine, then. Let's see what you've got.
You don't sleep. The comet makes sure of that. Even after you've left the observatory, its image clings to the back of your eyes like an afterburn. You lie on your cot, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint hum from the vault through layers of stone. Every now and then, you think you hear the shards shift their pitch, like they know something larger is about to join them. By the time the eastern sky blushes pale, you're already dressed, satchel slung across your shoulder. The palace courtyard is cold, dew clinging to the cobbles, guards yawning as they change posts. No escort waits for you. Of course not. The king trusts you enough to fetch fire from the sky, but not enough to spare even one night. You mutter, truly honored. At the gate, Hevelin appears with a bundle wrapped in cloth. He presses it into your arms. Tablets, ink, and a spare quill. Do not ruin this one. You smirk. I'll try not to die in a way that offends your stationery. He doesn't smile, just tucks the cloth tighter around your supplies. Be careful. The mountain roads are cruel. Cruel I can handle, it's flaming meteors I'm less thrilled about. Then you're off, boots crunching along the northern track, the city shrinking behind you. Farmers glance up from fields as you pass, some nodding respectfully, others making warding gestures as though you carry plague. Maybe you do. The road climbs steadily, twisting into the foothills. Trees thin, replaced by rock and scrub. The air thinning with each step. By mid-morning, the sun glares directly overhead and sweat soaks your collar. You pause on a ridge, looking east. There it is. Even in daylight, you can see the plume of smoke curling from the mountainside, black against blue. It rises like the earth itself is burning. The crater must already exist, hidden behind those peaks. You descend into a narrow gorge, the walls high and shadowed. The silence here is heavy, broken only by the occasional screech of a hawk. Then, movement. You freeze. Figures slip from the rocks ahead. Bandits, cloaked in patchwork armor, blades glinting. Of course, the mountains never disappoint. Their leader, a woman with scars across her jaw, grins. "Well, look at this, a royal dog all alone, carrying something valuable, no doubt." You sigh. Ink and paper mostly, terrifying weapons, I assure you. She chuckles. "We'll see." They close in, circling. Your pulse spikes, but your mouth runs faster than your fear. "Listen, you don't want my satchel, truly. Last man who touched my ink ended up glowing for a week, at night, like a torch." The bandits hesitate, exchanging uncertain looks. You lean into it. "Try hiding from the guard when you're lighting up every bush you crouch behind. Go ahead, though. Open the bag. See how many of you end up glowing." The leader narrows her eyes. "You're lying." "I am I?" you ask, grinning wider than you feel. "Tell you what. Touch it. First one lights up. I laugh. You all scatter. Fair?" She doesn't move. The others shuffle uneasily, muttering. Finally, she snarls and waves them back. "Not worth it. Get out of here, scribe." You bow dramatically, heart hammering. "Always a pleasure." They melt back into the rocks, and you walk briskly, not daring to look back until the gorge opens again. Only then do you let out the breath you'd been holding. By late afternoon, the land grows raw. Trees vanish entirely, replaced by shattered stone and scree. The air smells of smoke and something sharper, almost metallic. You crest a ridge and stop. The crater lies before you, vast and steaming. Black rock juts outward like broken ribs. At its center glows the shard. Except, shard feels like the wrong word. This thing is colossal, the size of a carriage at least, half buried in the earth. Flames lick its edges, colors shifting, gold, crimson, violet, too bright to stare at. Every so often, it shudders, sending cracks spidering through the ground. You swallow hard. "All right," you whisper. "You win for most dramatic entrance." The satchel feels suddenly pathetic at your side. Quills and ink against a mountain-sized inferno. Still, you step forward. Because this is your job. Because no one else will. Because if you don't, the mountain burns.
The heat hits you first. Standing at the rim of the crater is like leaning too close to a blacksmith's forge. Only this forge breathes. The air wavers, shimmering, and every inhale burns the back of your throat. You tug your cloak tighter, though it does nothing. The shard, or comet, or whatever it is, rests half-buried in shattered stone. Its surface pulses, glowing through cracks like veins of molten metal. You swear you can hear it breathing, a deep rhythm beneath the constant hiss of smoke. "Right," you mutter, kneeling to unroll your tablets and ink.
Let's see if paperwork still impresses you. You dip quill to ink, hand shaking more than you'd like, and sketch the first lines of containment script. The words scratch across stone, forming runes that glow faintly as they settle. You keep going, circling the rim, each symbol locking the shard tighter into the earth. Halfway around, the ground trembles. You stumble, nearly smearing the ink. The shard gives a low, resonant hum, vibrating through your bones. "Not a fan of bureaucracy, I see," you say, voice dry. The hum deepens, pebbles dance along the ground. A crack splits open near your feet, smoke belching upward. You cough, eyes watering, but keep writing. The final rune flares, the circle complete. For a heartbeat, silence. Then the shard screams. Not a sound your ears are meant to hear. It's metal tearing, mountains grinding, 1,000 voices wailing at once. You drop the quill, clutching your head. The circle blazes, holding, for now, but you feel it straining, buckling like a rope pulled too tight. "Okay," you gasp, "not entirely contained." You force yourself upright, stumbling closer to the shard. The heat sears your face, but you reach out anyway, palm hovering inches from the surface. The hum softens, just slightly, as though curious. "I'm not here to fight you. I just need you quiet, just for a while." The glow flickers. For a moment, you think it's working. And then, a voice. Not out loud, not in the air, but in your skull. 1,000 whispers collapsing into one. "You are small." You jerk back, heart hammering. Yes, well, so are most things compared to exploding rocks. The shard pulses brighter. You catalog, you bind, you think names are cages. You swallow. Names are order, otherwise the world burns. The whispers ripple into something almost like laughter. Burning is better. The ground lurches, stones tumble down the crater walls. The runes flare desperately, cracks spidering through them. You scramble for your satchel, flipping frantically through the tablets. Stronger wards, older incantations, something has to hold it. Before you can choose, the hum shifts again, louder, sharper, and beneath it you hear something else. Another hum, faint but rising, echoing in your mind. The vault. The shards back in the palace are answering. Panic claws at you. If they join in, if their songs align, you shove the tablets back into the bag, clutching it tight. Nope, no more fieldwork today. You're coming with me. It's madness trying to move something this size, but you don't see another choice. You drag the sealing cloth from your satchel, a patchwork of inked symbols and alchemical stains, and fling it over the shard. The fabric smokes instantly, edges curling, but the runes flare bright enough to withstand the heat. The shard roars again, but muffled, contained, barely. You loop the cords around it, hands blistering, pulling tight until the cloth shrinks to hold the mass. The impossible weight compresses, folding, shrinking down to a size you can actually lift. When it's done, you're left panting, clutching a cloth bundle no bigger than a loaf of bread. It thrums against your chest, angry and alive. Congratulations, your importable misery now. The mountain is silent again, save for the hiss of steam. The crater looms behind you, vast and scorched. Ahead lies the long road back to the city. And you know what waits there, the vault, already humming in answer. You mutter to the shard, half in threat, half in plea. If you so much as sneeze in there, I'm blaming you personally. It pulses once, like a heartbeat. The walk back is slow torture. Every incline feels like climbing with an anvil strapped under your ribs. The shard squirms inside its cloth binding, not with movement, but with presence, a vibration that rattles your teeth and keeps your heart thudding off rhythm. You keep one hand pressed against your chest as though that might calm it. It doesn't. The sky darkens, stars winking awake overhead, which would be lovely if not for the streak of smoke still rising from the crater behind you. Farmers in the valley will notice, word will travel, and by the time you reach the city gates, everyone will already know something fell. Sure enough, torches burn brighter than usual along the walls, guards pacing restlessly. As you approach, one lowers his spear. "State your business." You groan. "Really? We do this every week. I'm the king's mythologist, cataloger of stars, carrier of dangerous glowing parcels. Does that sound familiar?" The guard squints. "Prove it." You unzip your satchel just enough to let the shard's hum bleed out. The guard blanches, stepping back so fast he nearly trips over his own spear. "Fine, fine, through you go." You pat his shoulder on the way past. Good instinct. Never ask for proof again. Inside, the city is restless. Crowds gather in doorways, craning their necks toward the mountains. You catch snatches of murmurs. Fire in the sky. The gods are angry. The end is near. You tighten your cloak around the shard and keep moving, head down. The palace looms like a fortress against the night. By the time you reach its gates, sweat soaks your shirt despite the cool air. 2 royal guards block the way. One frowns. "You're late." "Late implies I had control over the mountain. Do you want to carry this thing instead?" They don't. The gates swing open and you stumble inside. Hevelin waits in the courtyard, pale as parchment. When he sees the bundle under your arm, his eyes widen. "You brought it whole?" "Define whole," you mutter, handing it over gingerly. It shrinks. Convenient, but don't get comfortable. Hevelin lifts it with both hands, grimacing as the vibrations seep through. "The vault, then, immediately." You both descend into the belly of the palace. Each step down is harder than the last. The shard seems to resist being returned, its hum spiking, rattling the torches on the walls. When you reach the vault doors, the sound inside nearly knocks you to your knees. The shards inside are singing, louder than ever, their tones rising to match the new arrival. The iron-bound doors shudder as though struck from within. Hevelin swears under his breath. They've been restless since the comet appeared. Now they're ready for a reunion tour. Fantastic. The guards heave the doors open. The sound slams into you, an avalanche of voices, high and low, all colliding. The shards float in their glass globes, spinning faster, glowing brighter. The vault feels like standing inside a throat mid-shout. Hevelin staggers forward, clutching the bundle to his chest. The containment circle must be reinforced before this one joins. You grit your teeth on it. You drop to the floor, chalk flying, sketching runes as fast as your blistered hands allow. Circles within circles, knots of symbols meant to bind, anchor, silence. Sweat drips from your nose, smearing lines you have to redraw. The shard writhes in its cloth, pulsing harder. It wants out, wants to join. "Wait," whisper. "Not yet." The runes flare, a cage forming. Hevelin lowers the shard into its center, unwrapping the cloth with shaking fingers. The moment the shard is bare, the vault erupts. Every shard screams together, their tones finally aligning. The sound is unbearable, vibrating your bones, tearing at your lungs. The globes shatter one by one, shards bursting free, spinning toward the newcomer. "No, no, no," you shout, scrambling to strengthen the runes. Lines blaze, but cracks split them faster than you can redraw them. The shards whirl in a furious orbit, a cyclone of light and heat, circling the newcomer like vultures. Sparks fly as they collide, humming louder, faster. And beneath the roar, you hear it again, the voice in your head. Small thing, you cannot bind fire. You slam your palms to the floor, ink and blood mixing as you scrawl the last desperate sigil. The circle flares like a star, walls of light locking down. The shards crash against it, screaming. For one heartbeat, you think it'll hold. Then, silence. The light dims. The shards freeze mid-air, glowing like eyes. All of them fixed on you. You swallow hard. That's not reassuring. The silence deepens, heavier than the screaming was. Evelyn whispers, They've noticed you. And you can't help but think, maybe binding them was never the point. Maybe they've been waiting.
The silence inside the vault is unbearable. Not quiet, charged. It presses against your ears like the pause before a thunderclap. The shards hang motionless in the air, their colors pulsing faintly, every one of them angled toward you. You don't dare move. Your knees ache from kneeling. Your palms sting where chalk and ink have ground into blisters. But you still stay frozen. If they were animals, you'd call this the moment right before they pounce. Evelyn whispers, Why are they looking at you? You try to make your voice steady, because apparently I'm very interesting paperweight material. The largest shard tilts in the air, rotating slowly, its glow strobing across your face. Then the voice comes, not just in your head this time, but through the vault itself, a resonant vibration that makes the walls groan. You name us, you bind us, you think you write above the stars. Your throat is dry. I think I'm just trying to stop you from eating the palace. Laughter, if you can call it that, ripples through the shards like glass chiming. You mistake silence for safety. Fire sleeps, but dreams of burning. Evelyn clutches your sleeve. We need to reseal the vault, lock the doors, call the king. But you know deep down, locking doors won't matter. The shards aren't prisoners anymore. They're choosing to stay. One drifts closer, hovering just inches from your face. Heat radiates from it, but more than that, thoughts, memories flicker through your mind. Skies split with fire, mountains shattering, cities consumed, all witnessed from above as though through the shard's eyes. You stagger back. No, not mine. Keep it. The shard pulses. You see now. You carry us. You are small, but not silent. Something inside you cracks then. Fear and awe all tangled. You've spent years cataloging, naming, trying to box stars into neat lines of ink. And here they are, staring back, saying you've been seen all along. Evelyn's voice shakes. What do they want? The answer slams into you like a hammer. To fall again, to burn together, to finish the song. Your stomach knots. If they escape, if they rejoin whatever comet birthed them, there won't be a city left, maybe not even a kingdom. You grit your teeth, forcing yourself upright. Then we need a louder song. Evelyn blinks at you. What does that mean? It means I stop being the archivist and start being the instrument. Before you can second-guess it, you step into the glowing circle, straight into the swarm. The shards whirl, brushing past your skin, each contact like molten wind. They don't burn you, not quite, but every touch floods you with fragments, memories of fire, names in languages your mouth can't form, grief older than the mountains. Your knees nearly buckle, but you stay upright, forcing your thoughts into order. You shout, not with your voice, but with every scrap of will you've trained over years of binding.
You will not finish the song. Not here, not tonight. The shards shudder, light flaring. The vault quakes. Hevelin yells something you can't hear over the thunder building in your skull. You pour yourself into the runes, bleeding into the chalk lines, pressing your hand flat against the floor. Your pulse becomes the rhythm, your breath the ink, your fear the binding. The circle ignites, brighter than the shards themselves, swallowing their glow. They scream again, not with rage this time, but with something closer to recognition. The voice in your head softens. Small thing, loud thing, you are ours. Then everything goes white. When the light fades, you're on your knees, gasping, the vault silent once more. The shards hang motionless, dimmed, their hum barely audible. Not gone, not defeated, but listening. Hevelin stares at you as though you've sprouted wings. What did you do? You wipe blood from your nose with the back of your sleeve. I sang back. The vault doesn't tremble anymore, for now the shards hover, contained, their eyes, or whatever they are, still fixed on you. You realize, with a bone-deep certainty, that this isn't over. They're waiting for you now, watching. And the worst part? A small part of you is waiting for them, too.
You don't remember standing, but somehow you're upright, swaying in the center of the vault. The runes around you are smudged, half burned, your chalk long since ground into ash. Yet the shards remain hovering, patient, like dogs who've learned a new command and are waiting for the next one. Hevelin is still staring at you, wide-eyed, pale as bone. His voice cracks. You commanded them! You shake your head, throat raw. Not commanded, answered. They screamed and I screamed back, that's all. The largest shard drifts a fraction closer, pulsing faintly. Heat warms your skin, but it doesn't blister. The voice curls in your mind again, softer now, like coals instead of wildfire. You know us. You carry our names. You are not only small. You close your eyes for a moment, exhaling. The weight of what just happened settles over you. Every star you catalogued, every room you etched, every hour spent scribbling at a desk, all of it was practice, training for this moment, though you never knew it. Hevelin clutches your arm. We must tell the king. You laugh, a hoarse sound that doesn't feel like humor. Yes, let's knock on his chamber door and say, "Good evening, sire. The stars have started talking to me and they're considering burning down your palace. That'll go over beautifully." Still, you know he's right. The king will hear of it, one way or another. The guards outside the vault must have felt the quake. Rumors will already be spilling into the city. And when the king asks what happened, your name will be at the center of every answer. You glance back at the shards. They've dimmed, but not gone dark. Watching, waiting. Something inside you twists. Dread and awe, fear and belonging, tangled into a knot you'll never quite pull apart. You sling your satchel over your shoulder, legs trembling, and step out of the circle. Hevelin hovers close, half as though to support you, half as though to drag you away if the shards stir again. The vault doors groan shut behind you. The moment the locks click into place, you sag against the wall, finally letting yourself feel how exhausted you are. Every joint aches, every breath tastes of ash. Hevelin whispers, "What if they wake again?" You close your eyes. Then I'll answer again. It's not bravado, it's resignation. You know now there's no distance between you and them. The binding wasn't an ending, just a conversation paused. As you climb the long stair back toward the surface, the night air cools your face. The city is hushed, holding its breath after the mountains fall. Somewhere people are still whispering about fire in the sky. They don't know how close it came to becoming fire in their streets. You press your palm against your satchel, feeling the faint echo of the shards through the stone above. They're still humming, always will be. When you finally stagger into your chamber, the bed looks impossibly inviting, but you don't lie down. You sit at your desk, ink-stained fingers trembling as you reach for a fresh tablet. And for the first time, you don't write to bind. You write to remember. The words come rough, broken, but steady. They spoke, they burned, they sang. I sang back. You lean back, staring at the wet ink, listening to the silence press against the windows. You think you hear a faint echo of laughter. Stars laughing, shards laughing, maybe yourself laughing too. You set the tablet aside, lean forward on your desk, and finally let your eyes close. The palace breathes around you, the shards breathe beneath you, and above, the night sky glitters with the rest of them, uncatalogued, unnamed, unbound. And you understand in a way you never did before. You will never stop listening. The night softens as the story fades, and your body finally begins to ease out of its tight, hunched coil. The hum in the vault, the fire in the sky, all of it slips into the background like a dream dissolving with the dawn. You're safe now. The palace stones hold steady, the walls of the city rest unbroken, and your room has grown warm and familiar again. The danger is no longer pressing at your throat. It's settled into a quiet murmur, nothing more than a lullaby echoing under the floor. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to fight it. You've already done enough. Your limbs feel heavier, looser, like someone has finally untied the cords around your shoulders. Breathing is slower, deeper. The desk beneath your cheek is cool, and the faint scratches of your handwriting dry gently in the dark. Outside, the stars continue to shine, vast and indifferent, but not cruel. They are distant companions, content to keep their watch while you drift. The world doesn't ask you to catalog them tonight. It doesn't ask anything at all. The city sleeps, the shards rest, and you, most of all, deserve to rest too. So let your thoughts settle one by one like embers falling into ash. Let the hum fade into silence. Let the fire dim into warmth, and let your body, tired and weightless, finally let go. You can sleep now. You're safe. The story is over. Sweet dreams.